When you do believe in what you're doing, you must find the right circumstances and the right tools to implement what you believe in. Passion alone, sadly, is not enough. And all throughout doing that, you must remember that you're doing something that someone said was impossible to do. I've presented music from Afghanistan, China, Western China, things that are not ever supposed to be presented together. A Han Chinese artist and an Uyghur Muslim artist performing on the same stage and creating music for one another. That was also, and you need a very specific stage where you can present that on. You need an audience who will relate, who will understand, who will welcome, who will be open. Edinburgh gave us that. So incredible experience. I'm very happy to do that. The single most important thing that defines AKDN, that defines the work of the Aga Khan Development Network, is that we offer instruments, toolkits, in all three areas of development without ever giving priority for one over another. In other words, if you want our toolkits, you have to accept the value of culture as one of them. You can't only get the economic development toolkit. You can't only get the social development one. They have to come together as what we call the integrated approach to development. And it helps to break the stereotypes that culture is this permanent burden on somebody else's budget. So what we do with our work, and it takes 30 years sometimes to get to making that first point, but we do make the point that when it's properly looked after and properly invested into, culture stops being this permanent burden on somebody else's budget. It becomes a trampoline from which economic and social development activities can then jump and grow and be surrounded in the right setting. So it's a dream job in a sense, no matter how difficult it is. You need to work with the local community. Unless people know that what you do is essentially for them, it will look as an imposition and it will never become a labor of love. So involvement of the community from before you begin the project, from the very first steps of planning, is absolutely essential. Outside funding is essential. You have to know that you're not the only one believing in this. Of course, the first step when you try to bring back the value of this kind of art, this kind of music, the first step is education, always. So we've created schools, found the masters who still have the ability to teach and also willing to share their knowledge and their craft. A second step was presenting to the audiences abroad and then presenting to the audiences at home. Third step, though, was creating new music based on that tradition, because you can't just repeat the same tradition over and over and over again. You can't just restore it. To really help it grow, you need to help it develop. And that comes with new creations. It took a while to realize that it takes a particular kind of an artist to be able to create new music, not only for themselves, but for those coming from neighboring cultures. And that particular type of artist needs to have a very deep and detailed knowledge and understanding of their own tradition. They also need to have curiosity and openness and the level of understanding towards the tradition of the others. They need to know the rules so well that they're ready to break them, because it takes guts and skill and knowledge to be able to break the rules. A perfect example of breaking those barriers. Alim, who is a Mugam master, you know, this oldest tradition of the region. So he mastered it. He knows every single Mugam. He can improvise in between the Mugams. What he did was extraordinary. Alim taught his daughter, a young, incredible woman, with an extraordinary voice, to perform the Mugam, an art that has always been reserved for a male performer. So another breaking of the barrier, very respectfully done. without a single mistake, but completely breaking the tradition. You perform this art as a woman, surrounded by instrumentalists, and you lead them into it. That's a sax reed from the night before. A sax is not an instrument that you traditionally associate with the Middle East, and you certainly do not associate it with being able to play quartones and microtones. But again, when you have an artist who constantly pushes the boundaries, not only of their own knowledge, but also of their own instrument, then you get sounds and collaborations that do not exist, that are impossible, but you get them on a daily basis. What we will be presenting in Edinburgh, new contemporary tradition-based music, that's when it happens. In the right circumstances, with the right support, and with the right knowledge. All the people who interview me and always say, ask the same question, who should come to your concert? Who is your ideal member of the audience? And my standard answer is always anyone who has curiosity. It just takes curiosity to open that door. And then maybe you become more open and more tolerant and more understanding towards everything that surrounds us.